If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Now, from New York City to the world, it's Dominic Carter.
And good morning. 4 U.S. service members killed in Iran have been identified by the Pentagon. That's 4 of the 6. The Pentagon identifying them killed by an Iranian drone strike during this Operation Epic Fury. Dominic Carter here with you. A lot to get to this hour. To reach me live, 800-848-9222. House Speaker Mike Johnson states he has the votes to defeat the Democrats' war powers resolution aimed at restricting President Trump's authority to fund and continue this operation against Iran. The resolution, I'm sure many of you know, seeks to require congressional approval for U.S. hostilities with Iran under the 1973 War Powers Resolution. The House is scheduled to vote on the measure, which needs 51 votes to advance to the Senate. Also in Texas, some big news. Former North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper won the Democratic primary and will face off against former Republican National Committee Chairman Michael Whatley for a chance to flip the retiring seat of Senator Tom Tillis, his GOP seat. We have a lot to get to, and I'm also going to deal with the issue this morning of whether or not you should be required to have ID to vote. It's a silly, ridiculous argument. Of course, you should have ID in order to be able to vote. Let's start with Iran. The bombing against Iran continuing from the U.S. and from Israel. This from Fox News.
The scene of one of these cluster munition impacts just outside of Tel Aviv. But I'm told by a senior Israeli official that the Israelis just struck the Supreme Council gathering where the Iranians were meeting to choose a new supreme leader. This is a significant development and, again, speaks to the Israeli intelligence about this war. They just targeted the meeting in Tehran where what's left of the leadership was gathering to choose a new supreme leader. The Iranians are continuing their attacks against Israel. Right now, we are in the community of Bnei Brak. It's a religious community outside of Tel Aviv. And you can see where the police and first responders.
And so also Secretary of State Marco Rubio basically talking to reporters, giving journalists the Riot Act.
Listen, let me explain to you guys this in simple English. Okay? Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. And this is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president made this decision. It was the right decision, and the world will be a safer place when these radical clerics no longer have access to these weapons. You see how they're using them now. Imagine how they would use them a year from now if they had more of these.
And that is a great point made by Secretary of State Rubio. The U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem the embassy in Jerusalem warning Americans in Israel that they are on their own. The ambassador, former Governor Mike Huckabee, making this statement.
Greetings to all U.S. citizens who might be in Israel right now. This is Mike Huckabee, U.S. ambassador to Israel. And I know that there's a lot of anxiety from a lot of people about wanting to leave the country. Right now, the options are fairly limited. The airport is closed, of course, and we don't know when it will be open or how many flights. What we are recommending to all of our American citizens, including our own embassy staff, is follow the directions of Home Front Command, which are right now to shelter in place and to be close to a shelter at all times. Follow the alerts. If you hear the siren, make sure you take cover. That's the best thing you can do.
And so a very serious situation, and let's pray for the people of Israel and for Americans that may be in Israel as this situation continues. So Jasmine Crockett, you know the inflammatory things that she has said, and we're about to start with your telephone calls. Just a reminder of some of the comments, the ridiculous comments she has made.
All I know is no, sir, you will not get a third term. That's not going to happen. I mean, the Supreme Court going to have to find a big boy and big girl panties and do what's right. The Constitution is very clear, sir. And frankly, you never should have had one term. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, you were never qualified to be president of the United States, not once, but definitely not twice. And your incompetencies are showing. Your own people, yes, my home girl, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is also very disappointed in you. Listen, you are a loser. And unfortunately, we all are being dragged down with you in your loser ways.
But no, we're not. No, we're not, Congresswoman Haight. She's the one that stormed out of her own event tonight after crying they cheated. Following her brutal loss, she took to the stage and said Republicans rigged the election in Texas in areas, of course, with high black populations. And she told the crowd, I won't be back tonight.
So that's my news, is that we're not going to have election results tonight, in my opinion, based upon what specifically is taking place in Dallas County. Unfortunately, this is what Republicans like to do. And so they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why. So I want you to enjoy yourselves, but I won't be back tonight because I have no idea of when we're going to get results, and I fully anticipate it won't be until tomorrow. So I love y'all too. Thank you so very much for being here. Love you down. I love you down, Dallas.
Well, the results did come back, and she did not do well. And Congresswoman Haight, I know you think that everything is because you're black, that's why it happened. But no, it's not true. Everything does not happen because you're black. It happens because you have no role in Congress, and you should not be there. You're a polarizing figure. Dominic Carter here with you folks this morning. Let's start with your live telephone calls. Line 1, Teddy in Yonkers. Good morning, Teddy. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Dominic. I want to acknowledge that I support Trump and Netanyahu's move on what they did in Iran. Full blast, full force, no stopping, no returning back, no going back. Trump said something very poignant as far as I'm concerned, and I don't usually give him credit. I'll acknowledge that, and I will continue to be like that when I feel it's right. But when he does something very good, I'm going to bone up and say it. And he said that they were going to attack first. When I heard that, he said, we had evidence that they were planning to attack. Now, I'll ask you, I would assume that they were going to attack the Israel and the the United States missions or embassies in the Arab countries or where they have troops, and because I don't think they were able to reach rockets to over here, but he had evidence in which he said that they were going to attack first, and that's why he did the right thing by doing a preemptive strike. And I support him 100%. And everyone should support him now because we're in a conflict. Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent, you should support him and you should support the troops. And I feel bad about the troops that died. And that's what I have to say tonight.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's good news that you're supporting the president on this one, Teddy, because I agree with you that we're in a wartime situation, and now is not the time to nitpick and be divisive at each other. One nation, one country, and that's the bottom line. That the president indicated that he had information that Iran was going to attack Israel, and that's why he wanted to be preemptive. Before I go to another call, Teddy, why do you think some Democrats are still denouncing him on this and still trying to push the War Powers Act and so on? How does that help us as a country right now?
It doesn't, and I wish I had a good explanation. I tried to look up what is there's a certain clause that enables the president to use military force without necessarily having Congress declare war. And
a number of presidents, as a matter of fact, almost every president in recent memory, Democrat or Republican, has done exactly that. I don't know the clause, Teddy, but there's a way. There's a way around it. Teddy, thank you for the call. I got to move on to some other callers. Let's go to, and we're also going to deal with, I'm going to try my best to get it in this hour, the issue of ID and voting. Let's go to Robert, line 3, Far Rockaway. Good morning, Robert. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good morning. I have an answer why the Democrats are trying to push the War Powers Act against Trump, because they don't want him to have a win. They don't want him to be the president that made peace in the Middle East and got rid of the worst terrorist country in the world. It's all politics. They don't want him to have a win. That's number one. And Senator Schumer, who's pushing this resolution, who's supposed to be an ally of Israel, since he's Jewish and he's supposed to care about Israel, is trying to limit Trump from destroying Iran and their leadership.
Well, how does this all going to play out? But Robert, you only have a few seconds because I had to toss to a break. At the end of the day, put on your forecaster hat. How is this all going to play out?
As far as the War Powers Act that they're trying to pass?
As far as, well, we already know that's probably dead on arrival. Yeah. But as far as the entire situation?
The regime is collapsing, and it's just a matter of time before they get rid of the terrorist government in Iran, and the only question is who's going to take over. So I'm sure, and also the people don't want, they're saying that the son of Ayatollah is the next leader, but the people of Iran are not going to tolerate that. They didn't get arrested and get killed for no reason.
Right.
They're going to make sure that the son of Ayatollah is not going to get into power. And number two, if you try to get
Robert, I got to take a break. But Robert, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the call. Robert making some good points there. Time for a break. We are coming right back.
The Dominic Carter Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. Greg Kelly here. Donate now to toysfortots.org, working year-round, delivering hope to children at Christmas time and beyond. In 2024, Toys for Tots provided over 30 million toys to nearly 13 million children in need. Donate now, please. Go to toysfortots.org. Since 1947, Toys for Tots has distributed 708 million toys to 314 million deserving children. Working year-round, Toys for Tots. Donate now. Go to toysfortots.org. That's toysfortots.org.
Now, from New York City to the world, it's Dominic Carter.
Back to your live calls in a moment. You got to love this guy, Democrat Senator John Fetterman, telling the far left to screw off, that he's not backing down on his support for President Trump on Iran.
And it's more just now because of that. What this happens, you don't have to agree on everything, but it's like, yes, I'm the only Democrat because I'm not afraid of my base to just say, you know what, this was overall a good thing. You don't have to agree on everything, so I'm going to be honest. So, like, why can't you just acknowledge that one of the most evil people on the face of the earth was erased? That's a good thing.
That's the bottom line. At the end of the day, the Ayatollah is gone. Line 4, Joe in New Jersey. Good morning, Joe. Welcome to the Dominic Carter Show.
Yeah, how you doing, Dominic? You know, what bothers me is Obama gave them the money. He made them powerful, Iran. They should go after him next. And Biden, we got 600,000 terrorists here now.
Wait. Joe, when you say they should go after, I don't know what you mean by that, because I know you understand that basically as a president, they're not going to do it. But what Obama did was he unfroze some of their money and gave it back to them. But I agree with you that that's what took them off of life support and gave them a new beginning. But go right ahead, Joe.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. They should be held accountable for the both of them, for the actions that they did. I don't know why they don't call them in and question them.
Well, up until last week, we had not seen a former president undergoing a deposition type thing, if you will, at a hearing, and that all changed with Bill Clinton, and the Democrats went along with it because they think that they're going to be able to get Trump to do the same thing. And that's just a ridiculous argument that you're going to get the sitting president of the United States and in such an operation like that. Joe, thank you for the call. Let's go to line 1. Ben, also in New Jersey. Good morning, Ben.
Hey, Dominic. Thank you for choosing me. I've spoken to you in the past. It's been a while. I guess I got 3 topics. The first thing is I completely
Whoa. Ben, not a good look when someone says you got 3 topics. Let's just see how it goes. So let's get to the first one. Go ahead.
I completely agree with what's going on with Iran. I felt juxtaposing that to how I felt with when we moved into Iraq with President Bush. I really opposed that, and I'm lined up with Donald Trump and what we're doing here in Iran. I believe we're doing the right thing.
I honestly don't believe. I don't see how anybody can be against the president on this one. But the Democrats, they find a way. They find a way no matter what. What was your second point?
Again, just empathizing with what's going on. Obviously, having gone through the third point, which I'll get to in a moment. Ben, wait, Ben. I don't know who told you we have all this time. I've got to hit a hard break in less than 25 seconds. Okay. So whatever point you want to make, I strongly suggest you go ahead and do it. Look, I lost my son in, I think I mentioned this to you in the past, but I lost my son on December 16th to a suicide. He's a 19-year-old beautiful boy. And considering that I'm suffering with such pain as a parent, I can only imagine what people are going through in Iraq, Iran, and now that this is taking place
Okay, well, Ben, I want you to hold on. I got to do another segment. I'm coming right back.
The Dominic Carter Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Now, from New York City to the world, it's Dominic Carter.
And I want to go back to Ben in New Jersey. Ben, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, Dominic.
Okay, so you mentioned, there's certain. Excuse me?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. There are certain things that someone will say, and it just, for me, it just slows the entire process down. So just so that you know, Ben, and to everybody else, for any talk show host, you're going to scare them to death when you start out with, I have 3 points to make, because nobody has that much time. But you also went back to your son committing suicide. And you mentioned, we discussed it, and unfortunately, there are so many calls and so many people and so many emails that it's very hard to keep up. So what happened in your case? And you related it to Iran in terms of a parent and how people are feeling right now. But what happened again in your case, Ben?
Well, in my case, when I called you, it was just after my son had committed suicide. And I had myself and my wife on the line. We spoke for a few minutes. And
now I remember, and I asked you to call back the next night, and you never did.
Yeah, I just was, it took us, we were in shock, right? So and now I'm starting to come to my senses and listening to you on the radio. And, as we started to move into this escalation, and I started to hear about protesters in Iran, just thousands of them disappearing, and I'm assuming most of them are young people. It's had such an impact on me, from an empathetical perspective. Like if your children leave the house and never come home, at least in my case, I found my son, unfortunately, and I had that solace to have that closure. I don't know what these people are going through. I couldn't even imagine. And we're talking numbers, tens of thousands that are probably anywhere from ages. I'm just making assumptions, but my mind is just getting away from me. Anywhere from 15 to 25 years old, out in the streets, and they just never came home. With no explanation.
So Ben, wait a second here. So you said that that you found your son, and I do remember the call now. One of the biggest fears that I have, Ben, is that, and I'm sorry this happened to you, that no parent should have to bury a child. I just can't begin to imagine what that's like, and so my heart aches for you. As much as you feel comfortable, and I don't know how much that is, but what happened in your son's case, and when did this happen, and are you okay having been the one to have found your son?
That's a multifaceted question. So I'm okay. I don't know if we'll ever really be okay, right? Me and my wife. I mean, my son. I have an older son. So we were a family of 4. And now we are a family of 3. And we skipped a generation. My wife and I are in our 60s, and we have children that are, my oldest son is 23. My younger son was 19. He had a birthday on February 22nd. So he would have been 20 last weekend. Put that in perspective. I was 40 when my kids came. I was a little older. Do you recover from this? We've been going to grief counseling and, surviving suicide. And the biggest thing that I'm starting to get concerned with myself is there are people attending these meetings, and there's like upwards of 75 people in the northern New Jersey location that we go to biweekly. And some of these people have been attending these meetings for over 10, 12 years. So I hope that we can, we're not tragically burdened with this experience and we can get over this at some point. But we're all feeling a level of depression. My older son, who's in NYU, who's a brilliant kid, is in his senior year, is about to finish. I think because of the distractions and the fact that he's very social, he's able to kind of bury himself into that world. My wife and I are a little bit more stuck. And my wife, women, a lot of times they're a little bit more focused on getting, focused on their work. My wife, we're both professionals. My wife is a treasurer for a small, mid-sized company, and she does her thing. I also work professionally, and I'm probably the worst of the three of us. But, we're getting by. We do what we got to do. Day to day. It's up and down. It's like a sine wave,
Did you see signs before,
yes,
unfortunately, your son committed suicide? Did you see signs that he was in deep trouble?
I did. I saw signs of deep trouble. I didn't expect a suicide. And the problem is, and again, anybody listening, when you're dealing with your own family dynamics, one of the issues, Dominic, is you have to get through your own family dynamics. Going back into my history, I'm a guy who served in the military. I was in the Navy for 6 years. So as a young guy from right out of high school, I went to the Navy. And one of the things about being in the military is you're around a lot of young men, a lot of them, thousands of them. And when my son started to show signs of what I thought was unusual behavior, it was only about a year ago. He was always diagnosed very early as an ADHD person. But once we got him focused on that, and then again in his high school years, he started taking medications to address that. We kept him off the meds when he was younger, but once he got into high school, he actually approached us. And we put him on the meds, Vyvanse and Adderall. And, being a little older, I didn't really focus too deeply on what the impact of those were. And I do think those played a part in this experience. But, about a year or so ago, when he went away to college, he started to struggle academically. And I also started to notice behavioral changes. And what I mean about dealing with your own internal family politics, if you will, is I started to tell my wife that there's something going wrong here, and I'm starting to feel my son Ethan was not in. I don't know what the words are to use properly, but he wasn't in balance. And she would contradict that and say, he's just a kid. It's just kid stuff. And I was like, I've been around a lot of guys. This is more than just kids stuff. But then he started to struggle significantly academically in his experience in Binghamton. And at the end of last year's second semester, spring semester, we brought him home and we said, look, why don't you come home and stay in New Jersey and we'll send you to community college. And over the summer, I started to see behaviors that were, again, reaching out to me. And I started to suggest that we need to start to get to therapy. And the problem is, once a child becomes an adult, 19 is an adult,
you need
them to acquiesce to anything that you need to do. So now I have an adult.
They won't.
And exactly what happened. He wouldn't. And not only was he not, he was defiantly pushing back. So we needed to get creative. And by September, I started to realize we're going to have to get a little tricky. Maybe me and you, Lucia, we go to therapy ourselves, and then we reel him into this. And I think as he started to hear this dynamic that we were on the phone, he started to probably hear us on the phone with people in September and October, trying to reach out to the mental health community. And let me tell you something about this mental health community. They're not that reachable when you're trying to get access to these people. After the fact, after I had a son in a corpse in a bathroom, everybody was available. You go back to September, October, November. Oh, my God. It was hard to reach these people. You'd leave messages. 3 days later, you get a phone call. Then you discuss insurances. I mean, it was just ungodly. And finally, you know, on top of that, you know, as we did some research, I believe my son's friends were also saying, look, you really need to start to reach out. We're concerned. And even my older son started to reach out to us because his friends were reaching him based on what, you know, the way these kids live now through Instagram and Snapchat. They started to see signs that my younger son was reaching out, and just his behaviors were off. Nobody can dissect it, but his behaviors were off. He didn't say he was going to commit suicide. It was just this, woe is me, everything is sucks, and school sucks, and just this random darkness. And by, I would say, November, early November, I really started to escalate this, and I started to reach out one-on-one and put the list together, and I started calling people. And unfortunately, my younger son, he just didn't give us time. I said to my wife, look, you got to go to his neurologist meeting with him to refine this cocktail of meds that he was on. A random Tuesday, December 16th, they went to that neurologist meeting in the morning. They left at 8:30. They spent 2 hours. And even the neurologist said, look, I think, Ethan, you're showing signs of depression, and here's a contact for a therapist I think you should reach out to. He came home. I made him a lunch. I made both of my sons. My other son was home from college. All three of us were home. I made all three of us Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwiches, which is a big New Jersey, delicacy for morning sandwiches. And that's the last I saw him. I handed off a sandwich at 12:30-ish. And by 1:30, I heard a sound. And he turned the firearm on himself. Both my other son and myself eventually recognized that there was an issue, and we responded, and it was too late, and our lives have been changed forever.
Ben, how are you doing? Honestly, man, having been the one to find your son, that's not easy. That's something that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. How are you PTSD. Honestly doing?
I don't know, Dominic. I mean, I listen to you guys WABC radio has been a staple of mine. I listen to you guys all day long. I listen to you at 3. I listen to you now. I listen to you.
But I didn't ask you about your radio habits. I said, how are you doing?
You guys get me through. I don't know. I mean, how am I doing? I'm not doing great. I'm doing okay. I'm not going to hurt myself, if that's what you're getting to.
I don't believe you're going to hurt yourself. But in situations like this, sometimes the marriages don't survive because one parent blames the other. You've already alluded to some of that, where you said your wife was like, as mother bears, they don't want to believe anything's wrong with their child. I'm so sorry that this happened, man. I'm so sorry.
There's a little bit of that going on, but I keep my mouth shut. I'm talking to you at 1:30, 1 in the morning.
You can't win that battle. So. You're right. You can't win that battle. How is she doing? The mother, honestly.
She's doing much better than I am. She keeps the place running around here. I mean, she just is like a clock ticking. She runs our finances. I mean, she goes to, I work remotely, so she goes to work every day. She's just, she keeps me focused. She calls me and she checks in and makes sure that I'm moving along. And even my older son, this is an unfortunate fact. My older son, who's now 23, and like I said, this kid's brilliant. And, while he's brilliant, he's got his own shortcomings. He's extremely unorganized. And
Right, we
you know,
all do.
misplaces everything. But
hey, Ben, let me do this because I do have to move on. But wait, Ben, listen to me, please. Listen, this is important.
Yeah.
If you, like I told you the last time, please call me back tomorrow. I will blow out the schedule. This is a very important conversation, and I want to continue it with you. But you have to call me back. I haven't heard from you in a couple of months, so please give me a call back, okay?
I'll call you back in this hour, all right?
Oh, yes, please call back. Ben, I'm so sorry that this happened to you and your family. Thank you for the call, Ben. It's time for a break. We are coming right back.
The Dominic Carter Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Now, from New York City to the world, it's Dominic Carter. Breaking news.
And the U.S. has opened military action in Ecuador against terrorist organizations. The joint activity with Ecuador appears to be a major expansion of the U.S. strikes that we've all heard about against boats that the Trump administration has accused of carrying drugs. So this just coming in, the U.S. opens military action in Ecuador, in the country of Ecuador, against terrorist organizations. We'll be following that in the days ahead. With me right now, Matt Blaze. So, Matt, one of my biggest fears, I know you're not a parent, but one of my biggest fears, I'm not going to say I'm Superman, but, I feel almost I could take on anything. But the one thing I can't take on that I think would destroy me would be, words have power, the death of a child, and to listen to that last call is just absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, I'm not a parent, but I can't even begin to imagine what you go through. And they've done movies about this and stories about this when it happens. I can't imagine that you don't go through this, what I could have done, what I should have done, what I could have said, what I should have said. And sometimes that may not have been enough. You sort of have to approach, sometimes you have to be direct. There's no totally right way to do things to prevent that. But I can remember when I was like a teenager, everybody goes through things. And there are times that you think, oh, I want to kill myself. And I don't think most people, when they do that, they're not taking it, they're not serious about it. But the thought goes in your head. And I remember somebody saying this to me, and it always stuck with me my entire life, that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And that is something that is those are the words that I think when you talk to kids, that's something that they should know. That you might be feeling this right now, but it's not going to be this way forever. And you'll get through it. And you'll come out the other side. Because how many times have you heard about people when they were 14, 15, they tried to commit suicide and they were unsuccessful. And then years later they go, thank God I was unsuccessful. Because when you're 12 and 13, you can't comprehend. Your world is so small at that point that whatever you're feeling, you don't understand those consequences. And you think the world is over. Everything's going to come down. This is my world. It's over. There's nothing I can do. And then they take their own life. And then that's it. It's over. There's no coming back.
No coming back.
So
none.
That's what I'll say to anybody. If you're thinking these things, remember that. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Whatever it is that you're going through, it will pass. You will come out the other side. You have to deal with it. You have to go through the motions. If you need to speak with somebody, get a therapist, talk to someone about it. these are steps, and people don't want to do that. They don't want to admit that they're having these thoughts. They don't want to admit that they need some kind of therapy. But when you get to that point where you're seriously thinking about taking your own life, and I think what Ben said about the medication, how many times, I think every medication you hear, if you're having suicidal thoughts, this can happen when you take some medication, that had a part to do with it, and it probably did, and we don't know. But if anybody's having any of these thoughts, you gotta talk to someone about the issue.
I couldn't have said it better, Blaze. You know, you and I, we joke around a lot, but this is a very serious topic. And I just hope that Ben calls back, because I want to continue the conversation with him. It just breaks my heart for a parent to have to go through something like that. Folks, Dominic Carter here with you, and thank you, Blaze. We'll deal with me and you tomorrow, Blaze, because I got some issues with you.
Thanks for listening to The Dominic Carter Show. You can hear The Dominic Carter Show weekdays at 3 p.m. and Monday through Thursday at midnight and Sunday starting at 11 p.m. on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
At Manhattan University, a graduate degree is not out of reach. You'll gain real-world skills, credentials employers value, and connections to New York City's top companies. Choose from their new Master of Science degrees in healthcare informatics, digital marketing and analytics, business analytics, or financial analytics, all built around hands-on learning and industry partnerships. Graduate ready to lead, not just work. Take the next step at manhattan.edu/graduate. Manhattan University. Lead the future.